hurricane, rapidly growing in size and strength.
Emergency officials start ordering mandatory evacuations along the Gulf Coast.
Expected to be a Category 3 when it hits.
We're already seeing massive flooding.
If you live in those low-lying areas, that you get out, and you begin to get out now.
The storm is forecast to dump a biblical deluge.
There's no more water.
The line to pick them up here stretches around the blocks. Cars lining up for hours at gas stations.
God, you can see these winds are relentless.
Hurricane Harvey barreling into the Texas coastline as a Category 4 storm with 130-mile-an-hour winds.
The first time for Cat 4 for Texas in 56 years. This storm has maintained hurricane strength for 12 hours.
Parts of Houston are still underwater.
150,000 people at this hour plunged into darkness.
The water around the house?
I don't know yet.
Stand by, we're going to try to get somebody out there to help you.
This is probably like a once in 500 years flood.
We're in East Texas, and it's been over a week since Hurricane Harvey hit, but this area is still completely devastated.
When I first noticed that the storm was going to be something out of the ordinary was probably about Tuesday. I shot an email to James Nolan and let him know that, hey, I think we need to start preparing. This thing looks like it's coming our way.
Once we had the idea and the reports were that it could potentially come into the area and stall over Houston, we activated certain portions of our crisis management plan.
As the days got closer and we could see the radar and what was happening and the flooding, we began going through our checklists and looking at our plan and thinking about all the different alternatives.
The AIM Center has done just a fantastic job of really being a communication hub during all of this.
So we were monitoring the hurricane when it was going to make landfall, and then what we need to do to man our AIM Center 24/7.
Everything happened so fast. I don't know what I was thinking, if I thought it was just going to like trickle in, but it just, phew, it was unbelievable.
One of our executives had called and said one of his employees was at her house and needed help, and decided to respond to assist her.
I was trying to get a plan of what I was going to do, I guess, if the water kept rising. And there was an email going around that a guy was rescuing people in the neighborhood on a boat. And I got in touch with the lady. She basically said, you know, we can come get you, but I don't know about your dogs. And I said, well, thank you very much. I'm not leaving my dogs. At that point, my boss, Nick Rakota, had reached out and asked how I was doing and everything, and I told him I was flooded.
We were trying to think of ways that we could help our fellow Apache sort through any problems they might be experiencing. We were all asked to reach out directly to those who report to us. And I texted Stacy Paris, and Stacy immediately texted back that she was trapped in her home.
That's when he said that he had spoken with someone in the AIM Center here at Apache, and that they may be able to come get me.
I got approximately a mile away from her house, ended up kayaking back to her house, loaded her and her 3 dogs, and brought her to dry land.
Randy Johnson showed up in a kayak. Yep, I was so happy to see him.
We were able to get a hold of the CMT team, and I was very happy to hear later in the day that RP, our hero Apache, had gone in with his Jeep and kayak and got Stacy and her dogs out of that house safely.
I'd say the day after Harvey, I started texting with my managers. How are they? How are they doing? And then we just did our text tree.
The way we did that is before the storm, we had a master list of all the people in my region, their phone numbers, their addresses, their emails, so we could keep contact.
Through that phone tree that we initiated, we gained a lot of good intelligence about what was really happening on the ground.
It was a good way that we could then roll up and report back during the daily call as to who was affected very, very quickly and in real time.
We saw the impact, we saw the devastation. We knew that these were not short-term fixes. It was incredibly valuable to have our executive leadership and John Chrisman to very clearly and in no uncertain terms come out and say, you know, right now your safety is the most important thing, and it really gave that that feeling to a lot of our employees that have come to me afterwards and said, you know, that was important to hear.
I was not only in constant contact with all the people that work for me, but people were contacting me to make sure I was okay and that my family was okay. My wife and I were driving down Kirby Avenue towards Costco and the phone rings, and it's John Christman calling up to find out how I am. And he didn't rush me off the phone. He took his time with me. We must have chit-chatted for 15 or 20 minutes. And I found out later he called up everybody that flooded. He sat in his office for like 2 days calling people that flooded. And so that's the sort of person we're working for, and that's the sort of organization we're working for.
Very proud of what Apache did. I mean, we wired money out on Tuesday to the American Red Cross, and we had money going from our Apache Employee Relief Fund.
I started thinking, you know, if the water goes up much higher, I'm going to have a hard time opening that front door. I told my wife Suzanne, I said, we're going to pack our bags, we're going to get out of here. Then we had an Apache crew come in and help us move stuff out from upstairs into the place we're staying at right now.
By midweek, there were several of us, Casey Stinson and myself, decided to put together a couple of crews and mustered a group of 20 fellow Apache employees to go help 3 other Apaches remove debris from their homes.
We sent out and we got a bunch of people that responded, loaded up in pickup trucks and got some equipment and went out.
So I had water in my house for 9 days. And during that time, I was going there, taking a raft to load things out. I had lots of offers of help from my coworkers. And Casey Stinson from HR had called, and he had heard I was flooded out. And he said, we have lots of resources. There were supplies that I couldn't get. He called me back within 15 minutes saying, I got a truck downstairs and we have all of this for you. And I got a call from John Christman. He knew I had been flooded out and he wanted to make sure I was aware of all the programs that Apache has offered.
And then the management's willingness to enable employees to take care of their own needs, just everything centered around the corporation looked to the employee first.
I think we expressed that during Hurricane Harvey when the number one strategic objective from our crisis management team was to find our people.
And then after that, the pain in the city was palatable. I mean, you couldn't forget that everybody that works here, everybody in Houston, were still emotionally impacted by the storm.
I learned at the end of this whole process that every person on the HR team who was involved in the crisis response had water within a foot of their door. So to know they were home working, making these phone calls, pulling these resources together, going that extra mile while they had their own worries, you know, coming at the front door was really, really special.
I believe that everybody takes very seriously their commitment to safety and the well-being of others. You know, the outreach was just amazing.
I think what it showed from our team is that it's not just a place you work. They're like family.
Apache has just been incredible. I never would have imagined all the help. I mean, there are just no words to describe how grateful I am.
When we say that our people are our most valuable asset, we believe that. It's not just words. It's something that we feel and we believe.
Fellow Apaches, it's been more than 2 months since Hurricane Harvey left its mark on Houston. And today we continue to feel its impact. In the face of a relentless storm, Apaches rose to the challenge and put our crisis response plan into action. Our operations teams evacuated operations personnel in the path of the storm and shut in production. Our crisis response teams kept our business running. Along the way, something spectacular happened. Apaches went above and beyond to make sure our fellow Apaches were accounted for and taken care of. The AIM Center worked tirelessly around the clock to provide us status updates. They connected us when we needed help, guidance, or reassurance. Our crisis response teams met several times each day to keep information flowing about the status of our operations, office closures, and emergency resources. They implemented a roll call to reach out to every single Houston employee to ensure everyone was okay. As the rain stopped and the extent of the damage became evident, Apaches took steps to help ease the blow. All of our Houston employees were affected by the storm. More than 140 employees experienced direct loss from the storm and are still in the process of rebuilding. We supported the Red Cross to help our communities. We activated the Apache Relief Fund and created 2 additional programs to help those affected by the storm: the Apache Disaster Relief Fund and the Apache IC Loan Program. Committees were organized to help Apaches with temporary housing, transportation, and child care. Volunteer teams were formed to help employees with flooded homes. That's who you are, and that's not part of your job description. You are relentless. At the end of this year, Relentless, a special print edition of Explorer, will be available. It chronicles our collective experiences and pays tribute to our teams who came together in extraordinary ways to help each other. Your dedication demonstrates what it is to be an Apache. We truly are a team of teams. I'm proud and humbled by our response. I thank each of you from the bottom of my heart for everything you do for Apache and the Apache family.